Hello, and welcome to the Top Voice podcast. I am excited to be joined today by my guest, Valerie Martinelli, to talk about something that everybody is interested in, which is the job search in 2026. The rules have changed, the environment has changed. If you've been looking for a job, applying to jobs, you know this very, very deeply. And Valerie is the most prepared and experienced person to tell us what to do differently going forward. Valerie, I'm going to give you a chance to tell your story and introduce yourself. Before I do, for those of you that might be listening to the live broadcast, please do let us know where you're listening in from. Leave a question or a comment during the conversation. We love to take those and respond to those in real time. I think Valerie's probably ready to give some free career advice. If you ask a really good question in the middle of the conversation, we'll cover that. And as always, if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, please be sure to subscribe, as well as on YouTube. All of these conversations make their way into every platform. And we're just grateful to the community for being a part of the podcast that we're building here in 2026. So, Valerie, tell us who you are and tell us what you do.
Who am I? I am a career leadership coach. And thank you for having me, by the way.
You're very well.
I am a career leadership coach. I am in Connecticut. I've been based here my whole life, really. 2016 is when we started. So this will be our 10th year in business. I work with mid and senior level professionals, helping them to find the next role. And now it will be I'll tell you real quick about my new thing, and that will be career management and career development, a little bit of leadership development. So that would be the kind of the next level thing. But here we're talking about the job market. So let's stick to job search strategy and that kind of thing. So I've been for 10 years now doing this, helping people find the next role, helping them advance their careers, increase their salaries, usually between $15,000 to $60,000 on their offer. So historically, it's been great. I just had someone in December increase hers by 29%, which was, great.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, even in this market, there's still room to do that, believe it or not. So I've been doing this for 10 years now. And I started off in nonprofit management, got my undergrad in poli-sci, got my grad in public administration. Why am I not there? Because I was like my typical client and I hated it. Those Sunday scaries, I know exactly what those are like. And this is why I can identify and help people. And this is what has helped me be able to really be able to help people the most, because I can crucially put myself in your seat because I've been there. And I know how hard it is. And you don't want to be miserable. Life is too short.
Yeah. There's nothing like experience, and we've got a few folks coming in from the chat, which is great. From California, Tim Teen, great to see you. Tim was a guest on our show last year. So you mentioned this is your 10th year, and I can imagine that this year probably feels very different than any other year.
Oh, yeah.
And so let's talk about the landscape and what's shifted first. I think that's many people are feeling a change, but beyond the AI conversation, which we'll talk about, what's the biggest difference about the job market in 2026 and beyond?
So if we can go back a little bit, because this started post-COVID. This isn't something like the clock just ticked January 1, 2026, and boom, it changed. That's not how it happened. This has been something that's been slowly brewing since post-COVID. And now it's finally kind of caught up to us. And so here we are. Now that, 2026 has come, we really saw a big shift in 2025. But I think what we learned a lot in 2025 was that now what this market is really demanding is for people to be proactive and not reactive, for people to really put themselves in the driver's seat, get control of their career, and stay there. We cannot let corporate define who we are. We cannot let corporate, sadly, tell us, we're great, we're not great, because they'll lay off at the drop of a hat. We need to really start to think like entrepreneurs, even if we're not entrepreneurs, just because we need to be in that driver's seat at all times, developing ourselves and developing the skills that we need, personal branding is now more important than ever. And we thought that was important before. It's crucial now. It has gone next level on us. How you position yourself, your strategy, your branding, all of that is everything. And that is because it's gotten to be so competitive. And so we really want to be able to be the ones who can stand out in this crowded marketplace. And really, it's not a resume that does it. It's how you position yourself, how you speak about yourself, how you present yourself, networking, how you can create those opportunities in networking, how you can even create opportunities but just by doing a good interview. Even if the job isn't right for you, you don't want to burn bridges. Maybe they can find another role for you. There's just so many things that can happen. Hiring is so multifaceted that we need to think about all the different things. And
So
it's so important to think about all those things.
yeah, so let's talk about a few of them because I think the person listening to this, and hello, Alma from Barcelona. That sounds wonderful. I love getting folks from around the globe, so it's nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Is the so you mentioned competitive, and I've
Yep.
heard a million stories of people that have applied on job boards, whether it's through LinkedIn,
Mm,
Indeed, other
mm.
platforms. And within minutes of a job being posted, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of applicants. It's easy to press a button, submit my profile, all of that. I'm sure that's part of it. And then within minutes, you're seeing rejection letters. And I think part of this is also maybe the AI engine looking at candidates. What is just the sheer volume of job applications that are happening as layoffs have occurred? Let's just talk numbers here if you have maybe relative order of magnitude type numbers.
I just had a friend tell me right before I got on this with you that she saw a post yesterday about someone who had applied to 600 jobs and hasn't gotten a single job. Hasn't I don't even think she's even gotten many interviews, if any. So the numbers are outstanding, but AI does play a role in this. And not even just into the ATS component, but also if we can just talk about this for a second because this is also part of it. AI has played a role in this in the sense that AI has now there's a lot of companies and startups that have been created with these AI auto apply things that'll apply on your behalf, right? So when you see something like easy apply on LinkedIn or on Indeed, right? It's very easy for those companies to be able to just go ahead and apply on your behalf. This is more like what I call spray and praying because you're just hitting a button, hitting a button, hitting a button, applying, applying, applying. There's really no strategy put into that, no thought. And it's just sheer volume of high numbers, high numbers. So when you see these 1,000, 600, whatever the number may be, right? Very high numbers. This plays a big role into it because a lot of people are signing up with these companies. And I'm not bashing them. They have a place, but there needs to be more strategy put into this. It's the strategy and the thought behind the application is
Let
what
me
the
ask a
employers are
question
looking
about that.
for.
Yeah, let me ask a question about that, Valerie, because I treat this a bit like marketing spam calls or text messages. It
Kind of,
must
yeah.
it must work on some level. So why are companies putting out these applications if they know there's going to be thousands? Is that the goal? Is it to collect thousands of resumes? Is it even a real job? Are they trying to find a specific person? It seems like maybe from the corporate side, the job posting in and of itself encourages a certain behavior that seems counterproductive in some ways. Am I
Build a pipeline.
Yeah, I mean, am I looking into that in the wrong way, or is that what's the goal
No,
from
not
their side?
really. Build a pipeline. It's strategy to build a pipeline. And I'm not saying that it's ethical. It's legal. It's not illegal, but it's not ethical, right? You'll get some of these people that will reach out to you and say, "Hey, can I have your resume?" And people will think, for what job?" Right? And I did actually have this happen to me. I had someone who said that she had an HR role, and I was like, what's the role? Oh, well, if you send me your resume, I can tell you if you're a good fit or not. Good fit for what? I kept questioning her. I ended
Mm,
up baiting the woman like a fish because I knew exactly what to ask. I feel sorry for people who don't know what to ask. But I baited her to the point where I put her in the corner. She had nothing left to say
mm,
because I said, "You don't have a job for me." I said, "Oh, well," and she says, "Well, let me take a look at your resume. I'll see if it needs some work." I said, "I'm pretty confident my resume is pretty good. I've been writing them for over 15 years. I know what I'm doing. Thank you."
yeah. Yeah.
And, and she was trying to spam me and send me something and then, this and that. But if you don't know what to say and you're not prepared, somebody might think someone's reaching out to me and you might get very excited. When in reality, they're trying to use you to build a pipeline,
Mm,
and that's not ethical. If
interesting.
you don't if you don't have a job for someone, you shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah. So let's talk now about the candidate side of that, because I think if you're not someone who's willing to hit the spam button and just try to, shoot as many shots as you can. There's a comment in here from Rick that I want to read in just a second. You mentioned branding, you mentioned networking, you mentioned a big list of other things. In a world where it seems to be about volume and pushing the easy button for applications, what's the first thing I should be thinking about as a candidate when I see that or when I'm trying to make a change?
Branding, positioning, then networking. I wouldn't. This market is not rewarding volume. This market is not rewarding people who are just hitting the easy button and doing spray and pray. It is not rewarding that. It is rewarding the people who are taking the time to stand out. And I know a lot of people are going to push back on me and saying, I'm doing that. I know you are. But the problem is, we have to find the right job and we have to make sure that people are standing out in the right way. And people need to make sure that they're being, again, proactive and not reactive. When we're in reactive mode, we tend to just go for whatever job we find, and that's not good.
Mm,
I see a lot of people who do that, and I'm not calling anybody out, but I feel bad because now we've gotten people that have been out of work for quite some time. So this market is, it together, it's a perfect storm of dysfunctionality,
yeah.
basically.
Yeah. There's a certain reality there, I would imagine, however, that is if I've been out of work for a while, I can't be choosy. So, do I
Exactly.
need to take some kind of whatever's in front of me role until I find something better? Is that something you recommend? Is that something you'd say hold out as long as you can? Does it depend?
I think it depends on the person and the situation, right? I'm talking to some folks who will say, "Well, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent or my mortgage." Well, if you don't know how you're going to pay your rent and your mortgage, then maybe you do need to take the first role that comes up and comes in front of you, even if it's not a perfect job offer. I did hear a story about someone who had refused a job offer because it was $10,000 less than what the person wanted, but they didn't know how they were going to pay their mortgage. If you don't know how to pay your mortgage or your rent and the job offer is a little less than what you want, I would take it and I would continue to look.
I've always heard this phrase that it's easier to find a job when you have a job, and so
That too.
that gives you a little bit of it gives you a little bit of leverage and freedom to maybe be more choosy. And I just want to read
Yep.
this comment that we got in the chat here, which I think is great from Rick, and he's talking about going beyond the application and in sales development and maybe research, pursuing hiring managers as though they are a prospect to demonstrate your ability to do the job you're applying for. You are the offering. And I think that's something that you recommended or you suggested at the beginning about you being the offering. So I want to match that comment now with is there a defined job or not? Because if there's a job posting, it must mean there's some kind of job, whether it may be phantom or not. But what if the company truly is interested in you and they don't quite know what the role might be and there's an exploration there and you've got the ability to shape that? Is that still something that happens, or is that a bit of a unicorn in the job world these days?
I don't think it's that much of a unicorn. I think it depends on the company. I think it depends on what it is that they want. And I also think that if a person has leverage in that type of situation, well, use it if you can. I mean, network the heck out of them. I mean, We obviously don't want to spam them to death, but network them, charm them a little if you can. Meet them for coffee, do whatever you can. And if it's not in person, try to do a virtual coffee or something. There's got to be some level where you can kind of work that connection to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
And I would do that if you can. If they genuinely cannot help you, then it's unfortunate, but at least you've tried. Maybe they know somebody else who can. And that's why I'm saying, right, like, don't burn bridges, don't start fires if you don't have to. It's not That's not a good idea. But if you can do this, absolutely try it. It
One of
may
the
be
things
a little bit of a one-off, but
Yeah. One of the things I'm hearing you say, Valerie, is, and maybe I'm inferring, you haven't said it explicitly, but skills aren't enough. That the resume, maybe even your experience, the technical skills aren't enough. There's got to be this other intangible element. You're calling it your brand, your strategy, your relationships. If everybody's taking that route, and certainly, LinkedIn is the place where professionals go to stand out in a lot of ways. How do I do that? It's a crowded market from the buyer side as well. Everyone trying to be different. What are you seeing in terms of things that work and maybe things that don't work?
so one of the things, I'm just going to give you an example, if I may. One of the things that I know that people really need to get good at doing, especially job seekers, is pitching themselves, right? Like, here's an example. I had and this happened to me more than once, but I had one person, an executive, who tried pitching herself to me to help her. And it was just, here's my resume, here's my bio, read it. That's not a great pitch. I
Right.
hate to say it. I didn't know what she wanted. I didn't know what she was doing. I didn't know what kind of job she was looking for. No information whatsoever. Just read my information. First of all, it's going to take me a long time to get to your information to read it. Then it's going to take me a longer time to be able to get back to you after I've kind of digested all of that. And third of all, it still doesn't tell me, are you looking for the same type of job? Something different? What is it that you want? Otherwise, somebody could just try to place you anywhere, and that's not what people want. People need to get good at pitching themselves. Even if they do know how to brand themselves and position themselves, pitching is so important, because if you're going to go off DMing people or even emailing, you need to be able to put that together and speak it. And even speaking it and then speak it in interviews. Speaking it in interviews is another part of that.
Yeah. Yeah. The personal pitch. I'm gonna maybe say something a little provocative about that, which is that concept is nothing new. You've always needed to pitch
No,
yourself.
it's not.
But maybe what's new about the circumstance today, what's new about the pitch maybe? Has anything changed about the pitch? I mean, I remember my first job in the 90s was like, that was the same advice I got. Tell people your elevator speech. Is there anything different about it today?
I think it's the ghosting that's kind of gone. I can't say that, and that isn't even new either. But I think it's the level of ghosting that's kind of getting on people's nerves right now. And it's the civility, the lack of civility around people at
Mm,
this stage. HR, people don't realize this. HR has a civility problem right now. So it's when someone says, I'm going to send you my information. Now you read it. It's your job, right?
mm,
We're creating a civility problem around it. So it's the civility problem that's become the new thing, because now it's your job to do that.
mm,
It's not my job to tell you what I want. It's not
mm,
my job to do this. It's not my job to do your job for you. It's the attitude around things that have changed.
mm. It's interesting. Most people would think that AI is the big driver of change that we're experiencing, and that's certainly true.
That's part of it.
The volume piece, but I'm hearing also a bit of a trust environment
Oh, big time.
that I've submitted my information to you, nothing happened, I got ghosted. And I've heard stories, I have close friends that, put in information and they never hear back. Maybe they get the rejection form letter, and that's good to know at least where you stand. But that part of it, I think, is interesting in terms of where we're at. And for the average job seeker now who's maybe at their wits' end, who's been trying and trying and trying, what kind of advice you've said there's a civility problem, there's a volume issue, there's ghosting, there's all these negative factors. What are some things that they might have to look forward to, or things that give people a little bit of hope? Because I think, it's a pretty tough start to the year if you're a job seeker.
I know, and I feel bad that I sound so negative. I really
It's
don't
my
mean
job to
to.
help
I'm
you the
very
other side.
sorry. I
It's okay.
really don't
It's
mean
okay.
to.
We're here to talk about the real thing. It's all good.
But there is hope. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. It will come. It's just a matter of not giving up. Find someone to work with you. Find someone who can help you. No, it doesn't have to be me. I'm not here making a sales pitch to you, but I am telling you to find someone who can help you and be your partner in success, because there there are people out there, and I know, everyone thinks everyone's the same and no one knows how to fix a problem. But no, people do know how to fix problems, and people do know how to get answers, and people do know how to help. It takes a lot of patience right now. A lot of patience. And it takes a lot of empathy. So I would find someone who could sit there and do this with you. Make sure they're empathetic. Make sure they're kind and caring enough. Make sure they're knowledgeable enough. Make sure that they can sit there and solve problems with you. Because unfortunately, this is not the kind of environment where you could just do a one and done. Like, it's so easy, like it was maybe in like 2018 or 2019. People used to be able to get a job in 6 weeks. Um,
Yeah, I mean, people were getting jobs then, and they weren't even trying to get jobs, and it was really
exactly,
it was
right?
really
Like,
quite a different market. Yeah,
yeah, people were getting hit up for jobs like crazy, and they're like, "I'm not looking. This is cool." Now it's not the same thing, unfortunately,
yeah,
and that's
yeah.
why I really think not doing it alone, because the mindset piece in all of this is so critical. Truly, it is hard to be doing this for that amount of time and to not want to give up on anything, and to not feel so frustrated, and to not feel so alone, and not feel so depressed. And again, I'm not trying to sound negative, but I understand how people feel.
Yeah,
I've been
yeah.
there. That is so horrible, and I don't think anyone should have to be alone in that.
I think you've covered it's just a great reminder about support, and support comes in many forms. It could be
Yes.
a professional like yourself, it could be a friend, it could be a family member, or even someone to just vent to on occasion is a really, really helpful thing. I want to talk about the technical side of this. I think you've covered the maybe the relational behavioral side. And let's talk a little bit more about AI. And we've seen AI resume writers, we've seen AI do a lot of things to help you craft your pitch. How do you recommend job seekers use AI enough to maybe take advantage of what it offers, meet the volume need? There's a lot of good things in there, but not end up writing an AI form letter that gets sent to an AI job post, and now it's just machines talking to machines, and there's no human in the loop. How do we navigate that piece of it?
But you forgot something there. There's also the AI to know if you've used AI.
That's right, that's right. It's scanning your resume to know if you did that. Yeah, now it's tricky, because, yeah, it's just machines now catching each other. It's sort of the star 69 version of blocking phone calls from the early 2000s. But, how
Right?
do we manage this? How do we use skills enough to be effective, but not over rely on them?
So I always think if you have trained one of the LLMs, right? So let's say ChatGPT, because everyone knows chat so darn well, right? So say you've trained ChatGPT in your job search so well, use it to help you to try to find the proper keywording in a job posting. Try to use it for something like that, right? You don't want to make a keyword driven resume, but then again, you also don't want to sound something that sounds like just a job description. So if you already have things like your accomplishments and all of that in there, but you just don't know, okay, so what are the right words I need to put from this job posting into this resume to customize it? Try to have AI help you figure those out.
Mm.
And that will take away a lot of the time and a lot of the heavy lifting as well. Right? So you could do something like that. Put the job posting in there, put a PDF of your resume in there, and put the right prompt in there. You have to know the prompts for everything. I hate to say it, so you do
Yeah.
have to get good at the prompting.
Yeah.
But that's with anything.
Yeah.
But you do something like that, and I think that can actually work really well
Yeah, so use it, and I think that's the advice that a lot of people get, which is use it as an editor, as a reviewer,
as a t-
as a
as a
check on
tool.
your work. Don't use it as the generator of the content, because then you end up sounding like everyone else. And I want to get to a question that was in here, and this has just been so great. We're almost at time. It's hard to believe these. We could probably keep going for a long time. There's a question in the chat that I think is really good, really important to put the human in the middle of this, which is I've hired people who were okay in their resume, but amazing when you spoke to them. How do you create the opportunity to engage? And I think maybe the question is, how do you look beyond the resume when there's so much volume and maybe AI driven content? We still want to find people we connect with and feel like they fit our culture, they fit our company. Yeah. How do we do that?
Absolutely.
How do we do that, and how do you stand out as a candidate to make sure that happens?
So this is where I think the networking can help. I hate to say it, right? But this is where if you know someone who works for a company you want to be at or something like that, or even if you want to try a message a hiring manager or a recruiter and see if you can try it that way, because being able to get to know someone to get your foot in the door is always helpful. And I know it is hard with the sheer volume. The other thing that I always find is make sure that you're using your LinkedIn profile as a really good cohesive storytelling piece,
Mm.
right? Make sure that you're using that. I know a resume can only say so much. You get a couple of pages, it says this, it says that, right? And that's it. Um, but you're not really telling a whole story on a resume, right? Like that doesn't, it says accomplishments, it says I was here, I was there.
Yeah.
And you don't really tell a story per se on a resume. I think LinkedIn is a great place to tell a story, and it's not just your profile. Engage with people, comment, subscribe to newsletters, maybe start your own newsletter,
Mm.
you know, write articles or, share other articles or share other people's knowledge and comment on it. Right? There's just so many other ways to engage to show that you know what you know beyond your resume. And then share it with other people, right? Engage, go beyond that, create that level of engagement. Because I think, creating those relationships are really, really important.
I think that's a great reminder and a great recommendation that while there may be things that are forces working against you and swimming upstream, there's a lot that the average candidate, that any candidate controls with what they share, how they comment, how they engage. And that really is a big motivating factor. And we know that when we have a sense of control, we feel more motivated. When we feel more motivated, we do more. When we do more, we create more opportunities. And I think that's just such a great recommendation. Valerie, before we get to your bonus question, which is how we wrap up this show here, it's our tradition. We've talked about a lot of stuff and some great comments in the chat, some great recommendations for you. What are the 2 to 3 things that you would suggest every job seeker kind of do now to reframe how they approach 2026?
So I would say if you're looking for a job right now, you really want to make sure that you have things in order. And I know people will say, "Well, I've updated this and I've updated that." But make sure that you really really have them in order. Make sure that your LinkedIn profile is actually telling a cohesive story. Make sure that it's actually telling a story that you want. Make sure that your photos are actually ones that you want. Make sure that they're professional. Same with your banner photo. Make sure that you're actually engaging. And if you're having a hard time on LinkedIn, here's a trick. I hate to tell people this one. Go to Substack. Go network with people on Substack too. There's a lot of people with engagement on there and a lot of people creating engagement there too. So you can go beyond the LinkedIn platform while still being on LinkedIn and still have a lot of control over your job search. There's a lot of great information, a lot of great creators on Substack. Same with YouTube, right? A lot of great creators on YouTube. So go and try and get a hold of it that way.
Yeah.
You still have a lot of control over things that you may not feel like you have any control over.
Yeah. I love
So
that. It's just such a great recommendation.
yeah, you can be on the platform and not be on the platform 24/7.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and it's I'm going to tell a quick story to maybe compare the two things. My son, he plays football. He's in high school. He's a senior. He's in the middle of the recruiting experience, and it's very much like finding a job. And there's thousands, tens of thousands of athletes, and they're all doing many of the same things. And one of the big recommendations, or one of the big pieces of advice that he continues to get, is it only takes one. You only need one, and it's
yeah,
discouraging. It's frustrating, it's hard to always keep your chin up, but the truth is you only need one and you have a lot more control than you realize. So put yourself out there,
yeah,
be positive, be proactive, engage, be creative. As much as there's changes that feel like chaos, within the chaos is opportunity to create new things that yourself can take advantage of. So I think that's just a really, really great reminder. Um, Valerie, as I mentioned, we have a closing tradition, which is to the last guest leaves a question for the next guest. It's a tradition I shamelessly stole from a podcast I really love. And it's January. So this is a theme that comes up in this part of the year. So, what's one thing you, Valerie, are leaving behind in 2025 as we make the turn to 2026?
bad health habits.
That's a popular one and one that we always can get behind. So that's great and good for you. That's a good thing to focus on, and certainly something that most people would say everyone's got one or two things they could
Mhm.
leave behind. So that's great. Um, Valerie, where can we find you? Where can we learn more about you? Give us all your links and socials. Tell everybody. We'll put them in the show notes as well, and we'll put them on YouTube. But where can people find you? Where can people reach out to maybe do some work with you if that's something they're interested in?
So my email is one, um, and like you said, you'll leave that, but it's Valerie at askvmc.com. My website, askvmc.com. LinkedIn, of course, is one. I'm on Substack too, believe it or not. I've started diving my feet into there. It's new, but so don't judge me yet. Uh, but I'm getting there.
Great, great.
I am on Facebook. I'm kind of all over the place. I am on Instagram, but I don't spend as much time there. Um, so
Well, we'll be sure to include all your links, and we'll be sure to have that accessible both on YouTube and on the podcast show notes and all of that. So Valerie, thank you just for so much advice. I think both conceptual advice around our mindsets as well as practical advice around
thank
skills.
you.
There's so much that people I know are looking to do, and if you have more questions, please do reach out to Valerie.
Don't be afraid.
She's an incredible resource, and I knew when we met, I was like, this is going to be a great start to the year because everyone's trying to find their next thing, whether that's in the job you have, in the job you want, or somewhere in between. So, thank you all for tuning in today. Thank you for the comments. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, again, please do be sure to hit subscribe. As I mentioned last week, we're in the midst of building out a really cool premium subscription that's going to be coming in the second quarter, where we've got some really cool features, a chatbot around change. We've got some premium notes that we're going to be building, special episodes, and other special guests. So we're excited to be bringing that to you in the coming months. Thank you again, Valerie. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you again
Thank you
next
for
week.
having me.
We'll see you next week on the Top Voice Podcast.